Yeah, I got one thing. Like now, as I think about it, Bill one of them Bay Area hustlers, man. So I wouldn't be surprised when he telling him, he say, "No, you winning the fight, you might have slid the judges a little bit of that bread." You understand what
No, don't do that to Bill. Don't put that out there
Oh
for
man.
people to hold on, man.
I'm saying?
Haney deserved it. He won the fight.
Right, man. At that point,
But shout out to Bill though. Shout out to him.
shout out the dollar bill, man. I ain't knocking him, man. I'm just saying we were speaking hypothetical. You know what I mean?
Bill, you got
And
anything?
yeah, because I don't think he. And I'm talking about Bill Haney. I don't think when people think of fathers training their sons, it's always some issue there. And this proves something that does work is that he knew his son well enough to know the right words to say. Plus, with some of the technical knowledge. And one thing I do like about Bill Haney, and it's not really in regards to this fight, is that he's willing. He's humble enough to take on outside help if need be. He's not, I'm the trainer, I'm the guy, but he's willing to put Haney with certain people to learn more. So I do give him that.
Yeah. One of the things I like is that I talked about this a while ago, but where he basically fired his let himself go as a trainer and then gave his Devin at a certain point the chance to either stick with him as trainer or to get somebody else. Like that's something that I haven't seen a father trainer do up to this point. So salute to him for that. But if you guys don't have anything else, it's time for us to put our Nostradamus caps on. Will, what do you think they go from here?
I start with the dream. I think it's like he said, it's two fights that he would stay at 135 for, and that would be Tank and Shakur. Shakur was publicly saying that he felt that Loma it was robbery or whatever. To me, the Shakur fight. Now, it's what I would want him to do is he could stay around for the Tank fight because I think that it's lucrative. That's a huge fight. A lot of money can be made, in a fight like that, and that's like a legacy fight. The Shakur fight is a legacy fight too, but I think that it's not ready yet. Now I know a lot of times I say, man, dude, y'all just go ahead and fight. I think with them, based on their styles, I would like for them to put a little bit more sweetener on it. You know what I'm saying? Like let that one brew a little bit more. Now that fight may never get to a point where it could be that way because maybe Devin attempts to go to 140, maybe he takes a couple losses or a loss or two, and so who knows? But the Tank fight, I like. I based on what I saw yesterday, I don't like it for him because some of the things that I mentioned before. But as outside of that, then it would be time for him to go to 140. Hopefully, if he does go to 140, that but the fact that he doesn't have to, strain himself so much to make the weight, that he'll be a little bit stronger, and it may help him towards the end of fights too. You know what I mean? It may even help him be able to absorb punches better. Now I didn't see him yesterday. He looked like he might have got dazed once or twice, but it wasn't nothing major. It was something that happens in fights. But a move up, I think, would be the best thing for him. You know what I mean? Physically, health wise. But you can't. Fights like Tank Davis they only come once in a lifetime, so you might have to sacrifice a little bit in order to make that one. As far as Loma, I see the thing. People keep saying go to 130. 130 is so thin. Like he'll just whoop them dudes down there. Like he'll box circles around them, punish them. He's too
Oscar
much.
Valdez.
Right.
Especially about this.
That's cool, man. Navarrete, any of those dudes. So it's nothing there for him at 130, unless he just wants to be the kid who should be in honors classes, but he stays in the general education class and he like has the highest reading level. He's like, dude, you go to honors and do that type of stuff as opposed to always winning everything in this general education class. And I think that if he stays at 135, he's going to be hell for anybody. Like Loma is going to be a tough out. You know what I mean? He showed me a lot yesterday as far as the tricks, that he used. He'll do anything. He's kind of like a little Usyk when it comes to doing anything that he can in order to win a fight. You know, he showed me that feistiness yesterday, the never give up attitude, and you know, some high level stuff that he brings to the table. Like I said, it will always. Though a lot of those guys that are younger, they still got little things that they need to work on. Like they still a little green here and there. And I think a lot of those fellas, like we saw Devin a little frustrated yesterday, kind of questioning himself. I think he'll do that to a lot of those fellas, pretty much all of them, you know. And that's the reason why they probably happy that he didn't get the win. So now it's like, I don't have to fight him. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. Like, what can he do in order to mandate a fight between him and one of those guys at 135? But for him, I would stay at 135 and try to, once Devin gives up those belts and they become available, I know he's getting older, that he'll put himself in a position to be able to capture those belts. What about you guys?
Yeah, man. It's tough for Loma, you know, put myself in his shoes. He's clearly still one of the better fighters at the division. In my opinion, top 4 at worst. I don't think this is the kind of loss where you go back to the drawing board. And it doesn't sound like there was a rematch clause, but that's the best fight out there for him. But, you know, Bill Haney already said, you know, he thought that the decision was, he didn't think it was a close fight, so they're not going to give him a rematch. And you know what I mean? And so in terms of like Loma's other options out there for top rank is Shakur, in which case like I would give Shakur the edge in that. Or somebody like Keyshawn, which is way too soon for Keyshawn. You know what I mean? But it's just like his top rank options are limited at this point. And so he's kind of in a weird spot. To your point, Will, he doesn't seem interested in going back to any of his former weight classes. I think if he were to go back to 130, like you said, he would run it fairly easily because you got, you know, the Valdez and Navarrete winner, and you got guys like Hector Garcia. You got who's the other one? Oshaki Foster. He could make a undisputed run, I think, fairly easily at 130, but I don't think he wants to do that. I think it's kind of it's going to be a thing where he kind of sees what options are available to him. For Haney, the ball isn't really in his court. I think it's in Tank's court. The impression that I got from Haney, though, is that Tank is number 1. And, you know, he mentioned Shakur's name, but if you saw the end where they brought Shakur in the ring and they were kind of talking on Haney's way out of the ring, but typically when they bring like a potential challenger in the ring, the champion stays, and you know they kind of do the back and forth thing. Haney was out of there, yeah. So I think his body language when he was leaving was saying something. And in theory, that would be. I mean, he's a free agent. He's done business with top rank for the past 3 fights. In theory, that's an easy fight to make. But I agree that that's one you might want to let cook for a little bit. So if I don't get the Tank fight, I would move up to 140 if I was him, for the reason that you named. But if I'm Tank, I got to be looking at my chops because the way that he wasn't really, like, he just kept his head, like, move his head back. You know what I mean? When Loma was coming with those straight twos, like, his head was just, like, on that center line. And if Tank, like you said, if Tank catch him that way, that's going to be problems, man. And so it's really like, where does Tank go from here? You know, a little bit more so than where Haney goes from here. But we'll see what happens. What about you, Bill?
Well, before you go, Bill, what about you got a couple guys, one in particular, the one who knocked Nakatila, he whooped the hell out of Nakatila yesterday. You see that guy? You might be able to get him like in the interim before he fights any of those other dudes. You saw that guy?
I seen him, and I think it would be a good fight. But I'm also putting myself in the shoes of like Loma, who was like, man, I just, in his mind, right? Like he said he was, in his mind, he's undefeated going into the Haney fight. In his mind, he's probably still undefeated. So in my mind, I'm thinking like, if I'm Loma, I'm thinking, okay, I just beat the undisputed champ. And y'all want me to fight this guy? You know what I mean? But I think as a boxing fan, I think it would be a good fight.
Yeah, I was just saying, you know, as far as getting them a little, you know, Loma always get them a couple little warm ups. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
In the interim before he go to a big fight. But because hell, over there on Top Rank, it ain't much over there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody's scattered around really in different
Yeah.
promotional companies. But we also got our guy got Ty. Ty, we gonna go ahead and get you on in here. Vale's just gonna cook real quick on where he thinks both guys go from here.
Yeah, salute to you, Ty. Yeah, I saw you online last night. So uh, for Devin Haney, uh, Danny already said this, but a lot of this depends on what Tank Davis does. Because if Tank Davis fights him, I mean, even where Loma goes kind of depends on what Tank Davis does. Because Tank can fight, he's the number one guy. He can fight Devin Haney. He can fight Shakur Stevenson if he wants. He can fight Lomachenko if he wants. But to be honest, I think I think Tank will more likely fight Devin Haney after last night than any of the other guys. And if not, I can also see Tank Davis fighting somebody else that's neither of these guys, or moving up to 140 and getting a belt there, get a WBA belt or something like that. I don't know. I think Tank is comfortable saying, I'm the number one guy. These guys move when I say so. He's more comfortable doing that. So it's weird because Devin Haney has all the belts, but his future is not really. His next couple fights is probably not in his hands; it's in Tank Davis' hands. And also for Lomachenko to extent, because I'm pretty sure Lomachenko probably wants a rematch with Haney, and he's probably not going to get one. And based off of last night, I say 70% of the time, because this is not always true. It wasn't true with Hopkins and Taylor, but 70% of the time, once a fighter figures you out late in the fight or in the second half, they already have you figured out and they start earlier the next fight. So, but Haney is a dog, so he's probably going to, he would be likely to take that fight if given that choice, but I don't think it's going to happen. For Lomachenko, it's interesting because how these guys interact at lightweight and their style, how their styles mesh with each other, is interesting. And plus, if Tank fights Devin Haney next, I think Lomachenko is probably more likely to end up in the ring with Shakur Stevenson. I think I could see Bob Arum making that fight, saying, "Hey, he can market this fight as this is the guy that should have beat Devin Haney against the man that I'm building," and I would actually favor Shakur in that fight. So that's a star-making fight for Shakur Stevenson in the fight that he would want if he's not given the option of Devin Haney, who will probably be fighting Tank Davis. Now, if Haney doesn't fight Tank Davis, then the options are more open. It's more clear for Lomachenko. I could actually see Tank looking at the Lomachenko fight and saying, I can fight Lomachenko. I can see that, but it's probably not going to happen. It's probably not going to happen. So I think a lot of this is based off of what Tank does. It's sad to say because Tank he's not even the champ. He doesn't have any of the major titles. He might have an interim title, but he doesn't have a major title. And everything is pretty much dictated off of him. And he's not like the level of a Floyd Mayweather when Floyd was doing some of these things. It's like they make him into be a Floyd, but he's really not that. So it's kind of sad to say, but it's all dictated by Tank. So my main man Ty is in the building, man.
All right, Ty, I'm gonna get you in 1 second.
What are your thoughts, man?
Ty, hold on real quick. Because Bill says something. He just wants us to, we gotta stick on, things that was stated, man. You said something in particular. You said that it's sad that Tank, he has this power, right? The fact that things don't really move unless he wants them to happen.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that it's sad though. You know what I mean? I just think that is where we are, but it's not unusual. It's the unusual part of it is the fact that that's usually somebody who has all of the belts, has all of the glory too. But it's always popularity is always going to, have its say in something as well, and who can generate the revenue and things like that. For instance, you have females can make the case that they should be able to make more money than guys. Let's say, for instance, you have a team that wins all of the championships. But you have this other team who has star players who don't win anything, but they make more money. You follow what I'm saying? To me, it's the same scenario. Tank is just somebody who can draw. You know what I mean? But Devin is the one who's putting more work in. And you would want, Devin to be able to, benefit from that financially. I'm sure he's benefiting. I'm saying to the level of a Tank and the popularity of a Tank as well.
So, yeah, I hear you, and I agree with that. But I know one thing. Devin is a dog, and I think he would do this, but that it was kind of off-putting on when Shakur got in that ring and Devin quickly left. But I do think Shakur Stevenson, to me, is the boogeyman. To me, I think he'll run all of them, to be honest. Loma, Jigo, Tank, and Devin Haney, to be honest. And based off of what I saw, based off of what I saw last night, I mean, Shakur Stevenson can do that all night with Devin Haney, and he'll touch Devin Haney up. And I was high on Devin Haney, but from what I saw, Shakur Stevenson is that guy.
Though. The man fought like Loma is cold.
Loma is cold. Will, did you pick Loma Chico to win this fight? Who'd you pick to win this fight and how?
Who acting like he was fighting Yoshino, and then Yoshino was getting at him? You understand what I'm saying? This dude is fighting that Loma Chico.
He is. But the doubt in Devin Haney's face is something I never thought I'd see. The doubt late in that fight. I never thought I'd see.
I've seen Floyd Mayweather look flustered against Madonna, and I never thought I'd see him look flustered like that again. You have guys.
You're right.
Like that, man. Especially when you put yourself. That's the thing. Like, who else is putting themselves in position to even experience something like that?
He is. You're right, and I give him props to that because out of all of them, he is more willing than Ryan Garcia, Tank Davis, and all them. I'll say Ryan Garcia. Yep, Ryan. He's more willing.
Ryan went in there with Tank, man. Come on.
Yeah. After did he do that with Devin Haney when he was his mandatory? No.
What did he say? Ryan Garcia said he's gonna whoop Tank and then he's gonna fight Devin. That's the reason why. That's partly the reason.
Before that,
he's successful because I'm like, I know this dude is gonna go ahead and fight somebody if he gets the belt.
Nah, man, Ryan went in there, man. He just went there and got him the biggest check he could and took that body shot, man. So
and Devin went in. So De La Hoya, when he got dropped by Hopkins, did he do that? No.
De La Hoya was at least in that fight with Hopkins, with a bigger guy. Ryan wasn't even in the fight with Tank Davis by the time he hit him with that body shot. He wasn't in the fight.
You going?
He didn't even trying to win.
It is.
Wait, because my man Ty is here, man. I want to get his thoughts on.
We'll get Ty, but we're not gonna go ahead and let these words go by without challenging those words. Ty, how you doing, good brother?
Man, doing good, man. Salute to the team, man. Y'all in here cooking, so I said, let me join and let me get up in here, man.
And what were your thoughts yesterday on the fight, man?
Man, to me, it lived up to the hype. One hell of a fight, good 12-round fight. I felt Loma edged it, but to me, he kind of pulled what he did in the Teofimo fight. He started a little late. He started letting those combinations go. Like in the second half of the fight, even though he was doing combinations early in the fight, they were like pity pat shots. So he was doing a lot of pity pat shots that weren't really effective. But like in the second half of the fight, he definitely started pouring it on once he found his rhythm. But I like what Haney did too, man. Haney, he kept the jab in Loma's face. He was definitely rocking the body. And I heard you mention that, Loma was having some issues, in the corner breathing. He was breathing hard. So, Haney was definitely putting that work on him with the body shots. But I just felt like Loma edged it for sure. But that 11th round, man, that 11th round was Loma's best round, man.
Oh, yeah. Loma's cold, man. Like, people, we acting like, Devin didn't do this. That, like, he's in there with, like, I remember Bill saying that he was top 10 lefty of all time. One of them. You know what I'm saying?
That's before Lopez gave him that work. Teofimo Lopez maybe eat my words. And I think Teo maybe eat my words on that one.
The only thing, the difference is between the two is the styles. Loma was worried about that big right hand that Teo had. Devin just didn't have that type of power in order to really, really have him gun shy like that. Like, he was more willing, and he learned from that Teo fight. He's like, I can't really be just getting down like all the way like that. You know what I'm saying? I gotta, have some type of resistance early, at least to make him work. And then when I do pour it on, he'll be a little bit, worn down himself because I was, more active, So shout out to him, man. And also shout out to the chat, man. Let me go ahead and look here. And I see the bro Shelton, he says, let me go ahead and put Shelton comment up here. Shelton says, salute, late to the stream. What you guys think of Devin's performance? We talked about that, Shelton, man. We exhausted. We kind of arguing about what we saw. Vail is going ahead and saying his little 1-2. You know what I'm saying? and but we all thought that it was a great fight. And then we all also thought some think that Loma won, and then some. Myself, I thought that Devin edged it out. But all in all, it was a great fight. In a perfect world, they would do it again. In my book. But also, Shelton, he says, but that is the only fight Ryan wanted. Don't forget Ryan ducked Haney. See,
yeah, you're right. He did duck Haney. How you have a mandatory to get all 4 belts and you turn it down? I'm gonna turn it down and get a tank fight.
Can I answer that question?
Go ahead.
You can turn it down if the fighter that you're facing, that you would potentially face, is more of a risk than the guy that you're not fighting. And then also on top of that, the guy that you would jumping to fight is more lucrative. It's a bigger event. If he fought Devin Haney, it wouldn't even be as big of a deal. Like I say, people texting and talking about, man, like I say, in my building, you got people talking about, man, I think Ryan might be Tank. I think Tank might be, that sort of thing. He wouldn't have had that if he would have fought Devin Haney. Like, that was a huge mega event. Who wouldn't do that?
It was an event, but Ryan wasn't even in that fight, man.
That's like the equivalency of that is you fresh out of high school. They offer you millions of dollars to jump to the pros. But then you're like, man, why you just didn't go to college and do? You're like, man, I can always go back to college. He can always come back and fight Devin Haney. You understand what I'm saying? So
no, boxing don't work like that because
it didn't work like that.
no. You make millions of dollars. Yes, you can always go to college and you can pay for the college. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
If you right now,
if you would have
lose to Devin Haney, his career, they're gonna be looking at him like his career is over.
I don't think they're doing it. On Monday, people were talking about is that a good situation with him and Derrick James? People ain't saying his career is over. They want to know what he's gonna do.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about all that, man. But let's one thing we're not gonna do on Last Ones at the Bar is smear Ryan Garcia's name. That's one thing we're not gonna do. Hey, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already. You know what I'm saying?
Ryan Garcia. So Ty, you got any more comments on Haney and Loma?
Any more slurs, man? Any more slurs that you want to go ahead and say?
No, Ty, you got anything?
Yeah, man. I just wanted to add to follow up what Shelton said. Now, didn't Ryan and Devin Haney fight a lot of times in amateurs?
3-3. Yeah, they went 3-3 against each other. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't feel that Ryan ever ducked Haney. I mean, I know they both on different promotion teams and all that, but I don't think he ever ducked Haney.
I don't think Devin feels like he ducked him because Devin was saying they asked him. He said that he liked Ryan because he said at least I think Ryan will fight me if he wins. He was like they said as far as Tank, I think Tank is too cool to even mention me or anything like that.
Yeah, and then I remember when he did well. He always said that Loma Chico was ducking him since 2019. To be honest, it's truth to that. But Loma kind of did him a solid because if this fight happened 4 years ago, it might have been different with a green Devin Haney.
I think so. He indirectly he did him a solid. It wasn't like he was trying to. You understand what I'm saying? Because he didn't know what to expect from Devin Haney. But on the flip side of that, Devin Haney may have not been. Like now, I think it's debilitating to make 135 for him. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's not. No, we said beforehand, we're not gonna say Loma Chico is old. We're not gonna say that Haney had trouble with weight. We said that. Remember, Will?
No, I didn't say that it had anything to do with the if I can't speak about what I see, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just saying,
we said you was like, I don't want to hear that Loma Chico's old. If he loses, I don't want to hear that Haney is trouble making weight.
Devin won. So what
He
difference?
did. But I still even he won. I don't want to hear that weight stuff.
Like, so
No excuses on how he look.
Can I make
No
my
excuses.
point, sir? That's all I want to know. Can I make my point? The point I was trying to make is maybe had they fought earlier, Devin would have have more strength. On the flip side of that, he would have been even more greener. So I think that it probably would have played out better for him. That fact that they did have a fight later, whether or not the weight was an issue for him, that's on him. He signed him, to fight and whatnot. Anything else we have on this right here? All right, so we're gonna go ahead and go into the next topic. Any you fellas, is that on me to introduce that?
No, I got that. So last night we had another undisputed fight between a super lightweight at 140, the women's division, between Katie Taylor and Chantel Cameron. So what were you guys' views on this fight?
See, for me, this is why I wanted this fight more than I wanted Taylor and Serrano rematch. Like I'm not what I'm about to say. I'm not like faulting Katie Taylor for this, but I wanted to see what it was like when she picked on an elite fighter that was closer to her own size. Taylor, she had always been a sturdy 135 pounder, and I didn't want to see a version of Serrano that was older than the one from the last fight move up 2 weight classes again when you had a fight like this that was out there. But yeah, you got to give Chantel Cameron her flowers, because assuming she wins a rematch, you probably got to give her Woman Fighter of the Year off top because she's done nothing but beat undisputed champs. Like she went, Jessica McCaskill tried to go down to 140 and take her belts, and she ended up beating McCaskill. And then now she beat the undisputed champ here. And if she rematched her, that's 3 undisputeds in a row. Now, in terms of the fight itself, I thought Cameron did a good job of pressing forward. She imposed her size. She worked her jab in the beginning. I think it was the third where Taylor was throwing combos. But Cameron was she was doing a good job of catching it with her arms and stuff like that. And then she came on strong in the fourth. It just looked like in general, every time Taylor wanted to make something happen, not only did Cameron she was able to fight back, but she landed the more impactful shots. She would get the better of those exchanges. And I will say that Taylor, she had a lot of heart. She showed a lot of heart. In the 8th round, she was getting hit with some heavy shots, but she showed her chin. And then she made this adjustment where the rest let her get away with it, but she would get some quick shots off, and then she would hold. And then the rest would separate, and then she would kind of go back to that whenever she could. But her counterpunching improved towards the end of the fight too. But at the end, I thought that Cameron, she just had too much firepower for her. She was too big, too strong. She was more comfortable at that weight class. Clearly, it is her weight class, even though she's fought at others. But watching the fight overall, the last thing I'll say is, because I know it's 4 of us now. To me, it seemed like a wider victory for Cameron than it was, but I understand it was Taylor's homecoming fight too in Ireland. But I thought she won at least 7 rounds comfortably. You could possibly give her 8, but I thought, I thought it was. I would say 8 rounds that I thought that she kind of won. But it was a good fight overall, and that's what we want to see. We want to see the best fighting the best on both the men's and the women's side, and that's what we're getting. Clearly, the rematch is going to happen. So we'll see what happens when they run it back in the fall. What y'all think?
Yeah, I thought it was what you said. In addition, to me, they were equally as talented as each other. They just one was just a little bit bigger and more sturdy, and she just had a little bit more pop in her punches against the smaller fighter. And in addition to what you said, Chantel was throwing a mean uppercut in there too. Like she was catching her with that uppercut as she came in. And that's something that she just does innately. You know what I mean? Like that punch is gonna keep coming. And she was it was having a deleterious effect on Katie Taylor in the fight. But like you said, Katie showed that heart, that grit. I thought that it was a close fight. And I'm saying that being in her hometown, being the fact that she's so beloved, and knowing that when she fought, I forgot the lady's name that she had a rematch with. To me, they were similar fights. But in the other fights that she had, I forgot what the lady's name is.
It's not Pursoon, is it?
Pursoon, yeah.
Yeah.
She fought Pursoon. I thought it was very similar, but Pursoon might even been doing her worst, especially in that first fight. But they ended up giving her the victory. But in this one, it was like legitimately Chantel won that fight. You know what I mean? And she was just too much. She's very, very good, man. That's a good fighter right there. She's one of the top, 5 pound for pound fighters in the world, based on that skill level that she has. That's a daunting task for Katie Taylor to fight her in that weight class. But we'll see. Katie Taylor was coming off a long layoff too. But that age, I don't know. I don't see it being different. Next time, I don't know what she could do differently. But who knows? Looking at the punch stats here, Cameron, she just threw so much more. If you look at the total punches thrown, 565 to 284, just that work rate right there. Now, Taylor, as obviously here, you can see that she was more accurate. Only way you can overcome that amount of activity and being outlanded like that is if you have more power. And it wasn't like she was just doing that much damage to Cameron, when she was hitting her. It was the other way around. And on top of that, she was just way more active, through way more jabs than Katie Taylor. Power shots, she landed 24 more. And then again, Taylor, as far as the percentage of power shots landed, she was more accurate. So she was more accurate, but again, just that volume and the heavy nature of Cameron, won her the fight. To me, if I'm just judging it like fairly, she won it easily. You understand what I'm saying? But if you're thinking about all of the little tricky stuff that they do out there, then I thought that it was a pretty close fight. Vale, you have some thoughts on where each lady should go from here?
Yeah. So in the closest fights like this, normally a rematch get talked about. I'm not sure that may happen, but I also think if I'm Chantel Cameron, I'm thinking that that rematch with Jessica McCaskill. I mean, she already had that victory over her, and Jessica McCaskill is a lot. It's probably might even be more popular at this moment.
Hey Val, not to cut you off, but yeah. Eddie Hearn already said they're going to activate the rematch clause.
Rematch clause, okay. Because there you go. So I do think that in comparison with all of them, because when you look at all the ladies, they're all around the same weight class. They all at 130, 135, 140, 147, then so on. I think that Chantel Cameron was the one that was kind of like the dark horse a little bit, where Katie Taylor got most of the praise because Katie Taylor had a storied amateur career where she, was in the Olympics and did her thing there. Cameron was always looked at as like kind of the little sister that was itching her way up, but now she's here. So it's interesting that, she has a victory over Jessica McCaskill. She has a victory over Katie Taylor. The only other fight I would want for her at this point, outside of rematch and Jessica McCaskill, is Amanda Serrano. So it's a lot of exciting fights to be made. It's definitely a big future before this era of ladies around this weight class close their careers out. So it'll be very interesting. What say y'all?
Ty, my bad, Ty. I just want to say one.
Go ahead, Will.
No, it ain't. All I was gonna say was this, sir. I'm not trying to combat anything you're saying. I'm just what I'm saying is this: is that I think that Cameron is catching those fighters at the right time too. Like Taylor, she's past it, and then also McCaskill. I didn't like when she came down. She didn't look like in weight. She didn't look the same to me. You know what I'm saying? She looked like she was a little bit off balance a little bit. And so I think she took advantage of that. If they were all equal as far as weight, I think that those other fighters would have it would be I don't know if she would have all of those victories over those other fighters. Ty, did you get a chance to see the fight yesterday? And if you did, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I just saw like the last half of the fight. I didn't see like the first 5 rounds. I just saw like the last, 3 or 4 rounds. Like from what I've seen, yeah, Shanton Cameron definitely won that fight. She was landing real busy. She was landing a lot of the punches. It's sad. It's sad to see, Katie Taylor, take a loss, in her home country, But just go back to the drawing board and take it from there.
Fighters lose every day, B. You understand what I'm saying? But that's like Loma over there. He was teared up yesterday. But man, they fight hard, man. They put so much work into it. I wasn't expecting that from Loma yesterday because the way he handled it, and that's the thing. Like guys, they are able to not show the pain that they are dealing with. They can mask it so well, whether it's physically, whether it's mentally. Because when you saw him in the ring, the way he was talking, you didn't think that he was going to exude those type of emotions. But when he had his moment, and he was just overwhelmed by all of the work that he had put in. You know what I mean? So, I say that nonchalantly about everybody lose every day, B, but, shout out to the fighters, man, because they put so much effort into it. And when you put that type of effort and, you give it your all, I just think that, you just hold your head up because of the fact that you did the best that you could. You know what I mean? But, everybody handles situations differently. And I'm not in that situation to tell a person how they should respond to, especially Taylor, her first loss. You know what I mean? So.
Hey, one quick thing. I just want to put this in perspective, too, because I want to shout out Katie Taylor. Because what she could have done was when Serrano got hurt, she could have just fought whoever, had a little easy tune-up fight, waiting for Serrano to get back, and then you have a smaller, older Serrano move up 2 weight classes again. You're probably going to beat her in a rematch, and then you can ride off in the sunset. But the fact that she took on this challenge, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's being talked about enough because we want fighters to take on, big challenges and stuff like that. For her to have done that is huge. She definitely took the harder way. You know what I mean? So I want to salute her for that.
Yeah, salute to her, and then also salute to those people listening. Man, make sure that like and subscribe button while you're here. Also, yesterday, you had my main man Oscar Valdez. He was back in action, putting in that work. I don't know if you had a little bit of that juice up in him yesterday, but he looked pretty good. What are you guys' thoughts on Oscar Valdez? I think the guy he was facing yesterday was Lopez.
Yeah, Oscar Valdez, he went up against Adam Lopez. Lopez came in the fight 16-4. Valdez 30-1, coming off that loss against Shakur Stevenson. Plus, I think it was a 1 year layoff since that loss. So Oscar it didn't seem like he had ring rust in the first couple of rounds where he was looking sharp. He was doing what he normally do, coming in with the high guard, using his lack of height to his advantage by being scrunched down and not giving Lopez many openings early. But Valdez was also landing some heavy shots, doing what he do, landing those hard left hooks and hard power punches and uppercuts. So Lopez, it's interesting because I think Valdez fought a better fight than the last fight between him and Adam Lopez, where Lopez, I think, dropped him, and he dropped Lopez also. I think he was more careful, and he wasn't over like, man, this guy, they saying this guy did this against me, I'm going to try to take him out and be reckless. He was very careful, and sometimes it made a few rounds close where Valdez didn't really just dominate the rounds. But once we got to the later rounds, Valdez, to me, started to kind of pull away. And I think he did hurt Lopez in the 10th round. I think it started because of a headbutt, which is interesting because Lopez got hit with a headbutt where they had a head clash. And then Valdez kind of, turned it up a little more and capitalized on it, and it had Lopez hurt. So it's like, how do you score around like that? Because Lopez was hurt and because it was a headbutt. But Yeah, Valdez, he got the win over Lopez. Another tough fight. It was tougher than even what I thought it was going to be. But it also, I like that Valdez took his time in this fight. He didn't just overrush it and get emotional and try to get Lopez out of there. You know, he definitely showed a lot of counter punching, which I like. That doesn't get talked about enough, that how Valdez, you know, he does capitalize off your mistakes. And when Lopez would throw certain shots, Valdez would come back with a counter, a crisp counter that would get Lopez's attention. So good fight. And it'll be an interesting path forward for Oscar Valdez. So what say you, Will?
You thought that was a close fight?
In some spots, I thought that there were rounds where I thought Adam Lopez was too much in the fight. And maybe I just thought that Valdez would do better against Lopez than I thought. But I also think that Valdez won it comfortably. I didn't think it was like a close fight, but I thought there were close rounds where Valdez didn't pull away, you know, especially in the mid rounds. And he just wasn't exuding his dominance. He was basically countering and capitalizing off Lopez's mistakes versus putting it on him.
That dude was moving, man.
He was moving
around the ring. You know what I'm saying? It's just like some guys, little cuties like that. It's hard to just pin them somewhere and get off on them.
And it's a hard style for Valdez, I think. Even though Valdez, you know, he did what he did against Lopez, I think that style does trouble him a little bit.
Yeah, dude is not sitting down on anything. He just, you know, real flimsy, like, you know what I'm saying? He up there just moving, and you can never like just zero in. And, you know, he caught him a few times here and there. And what I was impressed with Lopez was that he took some of the shots that he was getting hit with better than I thought that he would, just based on how flimsy he looked, you know, physically. But all in all, I thought it was a good, you know, performance by Valdez under the circumstances where, you know, he got the rounds in. I never thought that he was not in control of the fight, you know what I mean? And then he put it on in the end where he was trying to get the knockout, and he showed some really good stamina. But it was nothing that was being brought to him that was going to be, you know, concerning. So that always is beneficial to a fighter where it's nothing like the mental part of it is not going to give you fatigue, you know, and I'm in really good shape. And he was like one of the least talented, not to say he's not talented, but as far as the fighters that Valdez typically takes, and then experience, you know, as well. I thought that he just didn't bring a lot of that to the table, and Valdez took advantage of it. I thought it was a solid win under the circumstances. You know what I'm saying? I equate this fight to like back in the day. I remember watching Julio Cesar Chavez. He was fighting Terrence Ali. Terrence Ali was doing the same thing as what Lopez was doing. He just didn't have any power. Like, he can throw punches, but they just wouldn't have any zap on it. And then as soon as Chavez would touch him with something, it'd be debilitating. Boom. You know what I'm saying? It's like, dang, he did all that work, and then he land one punch, and then he do all of that type of damage. Not that he was doing that much damage to Lopez, but he was just much more of a heavier puncher. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, in a professional match, the power punch is always going to supersede the little flimsy, you know, flickering stuff that a fighter does. But all in all, like I said, I think it's a good win for Valdez. Up next for him, it looks like it's going to be Navarrete. And I think that that's going to be a tailor-made matchup for him. You know what I'm saying? Navarrete gets hit way too much, and he's a devastating puncher with that left hand. I think eventually, at some point, he's going to get Navarrete out of there. But no, but like I say, all in all, a good win for Oscar Valdez after the Shakur Stevenson debacle. What you think, Danny?
I don't have a ton more to add, and then I'll pass it to Ty. But I would agree. Like, it wasn't like his best performance, but it was an opportunity, you know, after the injury to get rounds in, to fight, I guess, somewhat of a familiar face. And, you know, he had a lot of leeway. He had some autonomy to make mistakes and kind of shake that off before he gets into the fight that he really wanted to see. But, yeah, I thought it was a good one overall. I thought he did what he needed to do. I did think that, like, I might have to start watching some of these fights on mute, man. That's all I'm going to say, because, like, sometimes the commentary, like, you can see with your eyes what these guys are doing without the way that sometimes they try to hype these guys up, and I get it. Like it's a business, but for me as a fan, sometimes I also need to hear all that. But that's all I'm gonna say about that. I won't go too in depth with that. But you got anything, Ty?
Yeah, follow up what you said, Danny. Yeah, like I was hearing about the Chantek Cameron fight and the Katie Taylor fight that the commentators were definitely biased. They were saying when Katie Taylor landed the shot, everybody was going crazy. They were going crazy, but when Cameron was landing the fight, nobody was really saying anything about that. But yeah, but as far as Oscar Valdez and Lopez, I thought that Valdez was going to get the knockout. I expected him to get a knockout. He is a power puncher, like 23 wins in like 31 fights. So this was like a good fight for him coming off the Shakur Stevenson loss. Shakur is one of the best at 135 pounds. So it was a solid win for him. I'm glad he got the win, and we'll see what happens next.
Yes, sir. You got anything else on that?
No.
Old Oscar. Okay. Anybody want to introduce that?
I lost my place. Where we at now?
Nakatani.
Okay. All right. So also last night we had a possible, knockout of the year candidate against Junto Nakatani and Andrew Maloney. Will, you saw that fight. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I saw it. I was in and out of watching this one. Like I said, I was at my favorite spot. San Antonio's over there in the Hoffman Center. They was playing that. Then I was watching the former GOAT. They was playing, as well. So I kind of was focusing in on my new team, the Nuggets. And then I was kind of catching Nakatani and Maloney. Now, going into the fight, I never really, to be honest with you, and I don't want to, talk down on any fighters, but I never really understood what the big deal about especially that Maloney. You know what I'm saying? Like they try to, like I say, he's one of those guys I feel like they keep forcing on us. Like the Maloney brothers, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, Maloney, baloney, you know what I mean? But anyway, in this fight, you had Nakatani, Junto Nakatani. He was, I think as I'm watching the fight, he just seemed to be too much for Maloney. Like every time I see like the exchange and stuff like that, too powerful, too strong. And he was just banking all of the rounds, up until that big left hand that he caught Maloney with. Was it a left hand or was that a right hand?
I want to say it was left. I'm trying to remember.
I feel like it was. Yeah, I feel like it was a left because he winded up, and then Maloney, by that time, he was so worn down, but he was showing some heart because he still was trying to, do what he could to muster up a victory or, try to get Nakatani out of there. But it wasn't the smartest thing to do, especially when you got somebody as powerful as Nakatani. So all in all, he caught him, he clipped him. I think it's the knockout of the year. I'm interested to see what Nakatani is going to do from here, as far as who he's going to challenge next. I didn't catch that because I couldn't hear the telecast at the time.
He said the winner of the main event. That's what he said.
The winner of the main event?
That's what he said. He said that.
No, which main event?
He said, I want the winner of Haney.
No, he's not going to get that. He's not.
That's what he said.
He's at 115, bro, ain't he?
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of another fight. No, I'm thinking what's the name?
I wish if this was Vail just threw a whole ring.
No, I'm sitting at the wheel, man. Forgive me.
Nakatani, so I'll help us out. So Nakatani vacated that belt at 112 that Bam just won. So he vacated that, moved it to 115. So this was for a vacant belt. And so now Nakatani's in the division with Chocolatito, Estrada, Franco, Bam's brother. He's in a division with those guys.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Because he didn't look the size that I'm like, I'm not. But anyway, with that being said, with those fighters, I don't think that I would favor those, but you got the side of the street thing that's going to be going on, situation. So I don't know the likeliness of those fights happening, but I would favor those guys against him. You know what I mean? I think that he's tough. But I think skill level wise, I think those guys are just a step ahead. But shout out to him for getting possibly the knockout of the year. You guys have any thoughts? Anything on this one, or should we move to the next one?
Yeah, I just want to say, yeah, I didn't catch the fight like 100% completely. Like I was getting set up and everything. So, but yeah, but I saw that knockout, man. Definitely a big knockout, man. Maloney was laid out cold. It took him a couple minutes, to finally get up on the stool. So yeah, man. Like they say, man, you can't play boxing, man. But prayers out to him, man. Hopefully everything's okay with him, man. But definitely a knockout of the year.
That was scary.
Nakatani, man.
Yeah, that was scary. The other thing too, did you guys hear the sound?
Yeah.
The sound was sorry.
Yeah.
Pop. Yeah, they showed that on the replay a couple times. Yeah, man, definitely a pop to that.
Hey, Will, I finally woke up. That was Raymond Muratala who called out the winner.
Oh, okay.
I'm up now, man. Ain't had my coffee, but I'm up.
That's what's up. All right, so now.
Real quick. Last thing I want to say is I want to wish a recovery to Maloney. They said he had 2 perforated eardrums after that knockout. You know what I mean? So we talk about hearing sounds. I don't know what the implications of that injury are, but it don't sound great. You know what I mean? So wishing that brother health.
Absolutely. All right, so we kind of pressed for time, man. We've been going for quite a while. Obviously we just did the recaps of yesterday. Yesterday was a fine day of boxing, man. You had starting early with the Chantel Cameron and Katie Taylor, event. And then later on you had 2 events, on ESPN. You had the portion that was the non-pay-per-view, and then you had the pay-per-view. That was pretty stellar. And so we did a good job of recapping those bouts. Now we're going to go into our prediction mode. And next week, we got 3 fights that we're going to make some predictions on. Hopefully, Ty, you'll be able to, come in with your unsolicited predictions on these as well. So the first one is going to be the rematch. You got Lee Wood. He was up in a fight that they had, he and Mauricio Lara, the last time that they fought. But then he ended up making a fatal mistake and getting caught, getting knocked out. And so he wants that get back. And so they're going to have their rematch May 27th out there in the UK. What do you guys think is going to be the likely outcome in this one?
All right, I'll try to be short. This for you, Will. And plus, the British guys, they're your guys, man. You the big fan of these guys. So when I look at this fight, I'm not betting against my man from Mexico, with Mauricio Lara. I'm not betting against him in this fight against Lee Wood. I think he's going to put Lee Wood to sleep. I think even though Lee Wood has a style is going to have him have success against Mauricio Lara, I think eventually, though, Lara's going to counter him. He's going to put him to sleep. That's what's going to happen. Let me see. What round I'm going to predict? All right, 10th round. He's going to put him to sleep.
All right, so let me go ahead and just give a little bit more background. So you got Mauricio Lara. He's 26-2 with 19 KOs and 1 draw. Fella's out of Mexico City, 5'7", 25 years old. They call him the Bronco. You have some of his last few fights. The one that sticks out to me is going to be the victory over Josh Warrington, where he came out of nowhere and whooped old Josh. And then in the rematch, they had a technical draw. I think Warrington got cut, and then he had a few successful title defenses, and then that brought him into the Lee Wood fight, which he was down on all scorecards, as you see, pretty considerably. And then he ended up getting the TKO victory in that fight. And so you have Lee Wood. I didn't put Lee Wood's information up here. That's my bad. But those are some of the fights that he had recently. Most notably, Michael Conlan, who's also going to be in action next week. I think in that fight, Danny, I think you had him as far as the knockout of the year in that victory that he had, where it was a come from behind victory, where he ended up knocking out Michael Conlan in that 12th and final round, that he was down as you see on all scorecards, which put him into the fight with Mauricio Lara. And as I mentioned, he was up on all scorecards, doing a really good job. Now, as far as what I see in this fight, I think that Wood, he's a big, strong guy, and he has some pretty good boxing skills. All in all, he's going to give Lara some problems early. And so I think this fight is going to play out pretty much like it did before. And Wood might be a little bit more tentative. What I don't like for Wood is I think he's coming back a little too prematurely after getting knocked out in the manner in which he got knocked out. I don't like guys who jump right back in there, especially if you don't take 6 months, 8 months, you know what I mean, when you get concussed like that. And so I think it's going to be some apprehension early, but he might be up. Lara is, based on their body rhythms and everything, he was doing a really good job. The other thing about Lee Wood is at some point, he's going to want to mix it up. He has that Josh Taylor in him where he just can't help himself, where he's going to be exchanging. Mauricio Lara is one of the most powerful punchers in the sport of boxing, especially at those lower weights. You just can't do that. And I just think at some point he's not going to be able to help himself. And I'll lean more towards like an 8th round knockout. It could be sooner, but I'm going to give Lee Wood the benefit of the doubt. And Lee Wood kind of fatigues. That's what his problem was in the last fight. And that contributed to his demise, where if Lee Wood just would have boxed his way to victory, he could have easily won that fight. Again, he's one of those guys that can't help. They like to mix it up. And at some point, he's going to do it. I'm going to say 7th round. I'm going to switch it to a 7th round. KO victory for Mauricio Lara. And this might set up a matchup between him and the winner of the next fight that we're going to discuss.
Yeah, this one is it's a little bit tricky if you watch the first fight, for me at least, because what I saw in that first fight, I saw Lee Wood was kind of outboxing Lara in the beginning. He was doing well with, landing those straight punches from the outside. I thought he controlled a lot of the fight. I thought he hurt Lara to the body a little bit in those middle rounds. But he started to put his foot on the gas, and he got undisciplined in that 7th round, and that left hook caught him slipping. And so what that looked like for him was he was loading up shots. And that's not what you want to do against Lara. For this fight, it's tricky because I look at, I think that Lee Wood is a better technical boxer. I think there's more he can do to adjust. And I think, to your point, Will, I think that if he would have just stayed disciplined, he could have won that fight. He's more of a brawler. Up to this point, I haven't seen him necessarily switch up his styles. His name is a Bronco for a reason. His nickname is Bronco, and that's how he fights. And it's like, if on one hand it's like if Wood can employ a similar game plan and remain disciplined, he can win by a decision. And also when I look at his stamina, I look at the heart that he showed in that Conlon fight and how he was able to kind of bounce back in the 12th round, although it wasn't looking good for him. You know what I mean? The thing is, Lara is more of like a killer, in terms of his punching power and everything than Conlon was. And so Lara is more likely to tire him out. I could see it going either way, to be honest with you. I could see Wood remaining disciplined, learning from that mistake, and winning a decision, but I could also see Lara stopping him. I'm not confident enough in the decision to go otherwise, so I'm going to say Lara is going to stop him in the 8th. What do you think, Ty?
Yeah, I agree with both you guys. I agree with all of you guys. I think this fight is a little too soon, for Wood. The first fight was just 3 months ago. He's jumping right back in there, after a knockout like that. So I think it's a little too early for him to just be jumping right back in there with a power puncher like that. But I can see it, playing the same way as it did the first time. I can see, Wood outboxing Law and just getting clipped with a big shot again. So he's got to, Wood, he's got to come in this fight on his A game defensively. He's got to be on his A game and just not get clipped by a big shot. But I think, that's going to be a tough task for him to do, for the full, 10 rounds or 12 rounds, whatever, how many rounds that this fight's going to be. But I think, it's going to play out like the first fight, and that Law is definitely going to get another big knockout.
Yeah, man. A couple of things that you guys touched on that I want to piggyback off of. One is the name Bronco. Like he's not as pit bullish as Pitbull Cruz, but he's gonna come and fight, man. He's throwing like some haymakers in there at you, and that's his style. He's gonna come forward. Now, he was kind of like Devin at certain points in that fight too. Like he was really kind of getting frustrated. He looked tired. I thought Wood was on the verge of getting him out of there because he was so tired, and one or two more punches would have really made things interesting at certain parts. And then Wood kind of let him off the hook a little bit. And then he started going back to trying to exchange when he got clipped. But you got those guys, man. Like once you have somebody flustered like that, you gotta you can't lose focus, especially with a power puncher like that. And I just think that at some point he will, or at some point he's gonna try to exchange at the wrong time. But that you're gonna be going to sleep. You're gonna put him to bed. I also want to shout out to my main man Rob Coleman. He says if anything, Haney and Loma was a draw. Could have saw that too. You know what I'm saying? I could have saw it being a draw. But I think we kind of exhausted everything as far as that topic.
Yeah. The last thing I would say about that is Haney was saying, hey, that's no more Chinko. After that 11 round, he was like, no more Chinko.
Yeah. I'm glad he was in there with him though. You understand what I'm saying? Also, next week we got the Lopez and Conlon fight. This is an interesting one too. If you look at the odds for this fight, it's 50-50, like right down the middle. And I just can see why. You know what I'm saying? What about this one though? What do you think is going to happen in this fight?
Yeah, you said it right, man. This is a 50-50 fight, and it's a hard fight to really look at. I mean, but this is going to be a very, very exciting fight. Lopez, 29-2, 15 knockouts, 5'4", 66-inch wingspan. He has that win over Josh Warrington that, we could always say that Josh Warrington is on the downside, but that still was a good win for him. Going against Michael Conlon, 18-1 with nine knockouts, 5'8", 69-inch wingspan. Now it's interesting because he lost to Lee Wood. So Lopez is kind of gutsy, he's very open wide when I look at his style for shots. But he has an exciting look at the night music. He has exciting style, and it's going to be very, very exciting with Michael Conlon, who, he has a trickier in and out style, but also eventually he's going to brawl, and he gives up too many shots. And also I can't remember we had a fight with Lee Wood where he got stopped, and Conlon was keeping his head just straight up, just looking for that one shot to get caught with. So this fight is going to be a very, very exciting fight. It's going to hinge on who has the better chin in this fight. And I want to say Luis Alberto Lopez has the stronger chin. So I think that eventually, even though I think Conlon is better than Lopez when I look at their styles, I think eventually Lopez is going to wear him down and stop him late. I'm going to say the 11th round.
That's interesting you say that. I jotted a few notes down about this fight because I really, when you had this up, I'm like, who are these dudes, man? But then I remember seeing Lopez against Warrington, and then I was like, oh, okay, that's the Conlon that ended up getting knocked out by Wood. And so I went to go revisit some of the things about the guys or kind of, get a little bit more background knowledge, not just the fights that I saw them in. And so what I understood is that here's some background noise. But anyway.
I think Ty might got a hot mic.
Yeah, it's Ty with a hot mic.
Yeah, let me see.
Oh, you sound scared. Oh, well,
We can put him on mute. But what I noticed with the notes that I jotted down earlier this week was the fact that I think Lopez, he has some power like in that left hand, and he has to try to get that left hand home, on that chin of Conlon. And he throws a lot of punches from a lot of weird angles. You know what I'm saying? You mentioned that, Vale. And Colin likes to switch hit. The thing about Colin is, see, you have to, when you switch hit, it should be for a purpose. Sometimes I just think he does it a little bit too much because he's just like, okay, I was doing this for a second, so I'm gonna give him another look. He can get caught in between that. And so that's what I would be looking to do if I was Lopez, catch him switch hitting, if that's the strategy that he's still using in this fight. And then the last thing that he shouldn't do is lunge, because that's one thing that he does. Now, if sometimes he's on and he's lunging in there, you catch a dude, but that's not a good practice if somebody's prepared for you to be doing that. And then that can have a negative effect and, have you on the back of your pants. You understand what I'm saying? So he has to be cognizant of those things. If he does, I think that he can be successful in this one. Because, again, this is a razor-thin fight. When they got a 50-50 odds, this is truly a 50-50 fight. Colin is the better fighter, but it's just that situation that he got knocked clean out of the ring against what's my man name?
Wood.
Right. So now, as far as Colin, he got to just work that right hand, because like I said, he's a switch hitter. So either he can work it with that jab, as you see right there, he's doing on the screen right there, or he can use it as a power punch. But the right hand has to be an effective tool against Lopez. And then obviously don't exchange much, like especially early, like when you kind of cold a little bit. Make sure that you're not getting any heavy exchange, because that dude Lopez got some heavy hands. The knockout ratio doesn't indicate it, but he does have some power, especially the shots that you don't see, because again, he's throwing those wide, awkward Sergio Martinez type punches. And then also, like I said, just switch hit responsibly. Don't like kind of like Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford might switch hit, but this round I'm gonna come out and I'm left-handed, or this I'm gonna start doing it because now I'm giving you a different look. But just don't be doing it just to be doing it. And then I think if he learned what he needed to learn from the Wood fight, I think that he'll be victorious in this one. I think he will, and I think that Colin's going to win a 12-round unanimous decision in this one. I just think it's set up for him to do so.
Yeah, I would agree. In short, you guys talked about Lopez, man. He's not. He has an awkward style. He throws super wide. He's not super sharp. I don't think we talked about the dimensions, but he's going to be the smaller fighter coming in. Colin is 5'8" versus Lopez is 5'4". Colin also has a 3-inch reach advantage, roughly. I think a lot of I think that Conlon, he's learned from his previous mistakes. You know what I mean? I think his technique and his amateur pedigree puts him over the edge here. I think for Lopez has a lot of heart. I'll give that to him. I think he caught Warrington at a good time, but he's gonna need more than just heart. You know what I mean? In this fight right here, and I don't know. I do think Colin is gonna have he's really gonna have to box responsibly and be that fighter. But Lopez, he be throwing them tiger uppercuts, man. I don't know if that's something that's sustainable to get a win in a fight against someone like a Conlon with the pedigree that he has. And so I'm leaning also Conlon decision here. I think Lopez is going to be outboxed. I think Conlon's going to remain disciplined. Ty, you want to throw a prediction there for this one, or are you good?
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the guy, so I'll let y'all go ahead and move on to the next one.
Yeah, it should be a good bout. I think you made a good point as far as the Lopez and Warrington fight. I think Warrington kind of overestimated his abilities, and he kind of underestimated Lopez in that one. And that's one of those guys. Well, pro fights, at the professional level, you can't do that. Warrington to me is a guy he can't overlook anyone. You know what I'm saying? His biggest attribute is going to be his volume. And if he's not doing that and he thinks that, okay, I can turn it on against this guy when I want to, he's not going to be nearly as good as when he's at his best. And that's constantly bringing that pressure, even though he doesn't have that much pop. So I think that that's the reason why Lopez was able to get that victory. Now, also next week, you got Okoli. He's going to be in action against a gentleman named Billum Smith. You guys wanted to go ahead and make a prediction on it, so I went ahead and viewed it. I felt like I wasted precious moments of my life, but I did go ahead and review some of these guys' previous bouts. What's your take on a likely outcome of the Okoli Billum Smith bout that's going to take place next week as well?
So Okoli, Lawrence Okoli, 19-0. He got what? I think he has 14 knockouts.
The sauce.
You said who?
They call him the sauce.
The sauce. Okay, 6'5" with 82-inch wingspan. He got like heavyweight dimensions, but he's like he's basically a cruiserweight, man. But what I do like about him, he's tall. He fights tall. Sometimes he makes mistakes when he fights tall because he keeps that. I think when he leaves that jab out there, which is good, but he keeps that right hand low, which, I mean, somebody that with more experience or willing to work more to get on that inside, I can see them clipping him, So if he really worked on his game from distance, I think he'll even be better. So Smith, 17-1, 12 knockouts. He fights better it's interesting. He fights better when he does get on the inside, but he has to get on the inside. I don't like the fact that he's more hittable, and for him, he'll have to work harder to get on that inside as a shorter fighter of Okoli. So I think this is going to be a more interesting fight than it looks on the surface, because this is really for Okoli to look good. But I do think Smith is going to give him some trouble in close. I don't think anybody's going to get a stoppage in this fight, but I do think that down the stretch, Okoli's grit is going to show a little bit, because he does tie up a lot when when guys do get on the inside. And I think he's going to wrestle Smith a lot. So I do have Okoli winning a decision over Chris Billiam Smith.
Yeah, the interesting thing that I see here is that this is going to be a fighter that's closest to the height of Lawrence Okoli. And so is going to be different. I don't see Billum Smith's reach on here. As far as Okoli, or Okoli, he got me saying Okoli. But as far as Billum Smith,
I'm sorry, Okoli. I want to apologize to him.
As far as Billum Smith, his last few fights here, as we see, I think the biggest name is the Isaac Chamberlain. I've seen Isaac Chamberlain fight before, and so he has a lot of unanimous decisions and one split decision, one KO. So he should be having full confidence coming into this fight. I don't have the information. BoxRec was messing up, and so that's the reason why I didn't have the information for Michael Conlon as well, is because it just kept messing up. So, but Billum Smith is he's very similar to the guys who Okoli has been facing, and I don't know if cruiserweight, if there's much there. I know that there's other titleists that he could be facing. But it's just another situation. Like this caliber of opponent, I've seen him fight on multiple occasions. I think Billum Smith might be slightly better than some of the guys that Okoli has been facing, but I don't think that he brings anything to the table that would put an end to the Okoli, winning streak, of his undefeated winning streak. But in this fight, the fact that the dimensions are so close, Billum Smith is tough. I think that he can defend himself well enough that he's going to make it to a 12-round decision. I wouldn't be surprised if Okoli catches him with something and puts him out of there But I think the likely scenario is going to be Oakley winning. I would say a less than stellar, 12 round, but a wide margin 12-round victory for him. What about you, Dan?
Yeah, man. I mean, the thing is, like, there's not a lot of life in the cruiserweight division, and you have someone like Okoli who has the potential to make it interesting, if not on the global front, on like at least like the British front. You know what I mean? He has somewhat of a personality. He has a rap career. He in theory on paper lives the life of someone who could make this division better. But when you look at the opportunities that he has to do that, like his win against Glowacki was impressive. That's what put him on the map for me. When he stopped them in the 6th round in 2021, and then since then he's had these opportunities to showcase himself, and like, yes, he gets the wins, but they don't leave a ton to be desired. You have a potential kind of somewhat of a grudge match against Richard Riakporhe, but outside of that, is like this is his. There's not a ton more opportunities that he has to really showcase his skills to set him up for something, whether he moves up the heavyweight or what. And so, like, I think he's going to win a decision. The short answer. I don't think Bill and Smith is going to be anything that he hasn't seen before. I haven't seen anything from his previous fights that makes me think he's going to trouble Okoli. But I think the pressure is really on Okoli here to generate to keep interest in him, current interest, and generate more interest. So we'll see what happens with that. Ty, you got anything on this one?
Yeah, I just remember reading about Okoli, man. I'm not too familiar with these guys, but I just remember reading about Okoli. They were saying something like, his promoter was saying something like he doesn't really sell a lot of tickets right in his own hometown. So I was like, I don't look at him as like some top fighter, but I know both guys got decent records. So, I'll probably go for Okoli on this one.
Yeah, I put up there the cruiserweights, the current landscape at the cruiserweight. Also, keep in mind that Lawrence Okoli, he just left Shane McGuigan. It could have been a fight before, but now he's with Sugar Hill now. So it's going to be interesting to see, how that plays out in his career. Looking at the guys here, who I thought he was going to be going against was Bradis, but Bradis lost against the champion here, in an upset. And so, he's next, according to Ring Magazine, but I would never count out the Torticus because he has so much power. You know what I'm saying? Like, you mess around and get cracked by him. And like you said, it's kind of thin where you got Badu Jack number 4. Like, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Because Badu Jack, he wouldn't be 4 at light heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? So these guys here, that'll be interesting. Hopefully for his sake, that he'll be able to get, if he's not able to get, was it Opataya, that he's able to get a Bradis fight, although Bradis doesn't have the belt. If I was him, I think Dorticus, the risk outweighs the reward. You guys have any thoughts on the landscape at cruiserweight or the lack thereof?
Yeah, I mean, we just gotta see how it plays out because Opataya, in that really good fight, where he won the belt, he broke his jaw, and so he hasn't fought since then. I haven't heard anything about him coming back yet, and so it's gonna be a thing where it's like, one, as Okoli gets older, right now he's 30. How long is he gonna, at 6'5", how long he's gonna be to make cruiserweight, and will that timing align with him to generate enough interest to unify or make some kind of noise at the division, or is he gonna have to move up? And if he moves up, it's like, what is he gonna do there? You know what I mean? So that's all I got.
Yeah, what about you, Vail or Ty?
Nah, man, cruiserweight. I watch Oakley, but other than that, and you know what? As a Badu Jack fan, I watch Jack. But other than that, I haven't. The cruiserweight is kind of, ever since Usyk moved up to heavyweight. I mean, even he exhausted his everything he could do there. So not much at cruiserweight right now, but you never know.
No, Battaglia, like the top line of guys that they had up there, like they can go. It's just with Bradis, he's just getting old now. You know, so you got to be about damn near 40. But outside of that, like the top four, you can watch them and see some really good quality, high level stuff. Checking those guys out. Hopefully, he'll get a crack at one of those if he's victorious this next weekend. Last thing we got is you got the news, man. We didn't get a chance to touch on this. So Monday, or Tuesday, I came in and I heard the great news about. We can skip that. Ryan Garcia, he's on a quest, for a title, and now he's going to train with Derrick James. So the story comes out that he's going to train with Derrick James ahead of his 140-pound campaign. And so he announced it on social media on Tuesday. What do you think about this, man? Is that a match made in heaven or a match made in hell?
On social media. Look at this social media, darling. But you know what? That it's a good look.
So before you start, see the little
No. I'm gonna do it. But you know what? This is a good look for Ryan Garcia. If you're gonna pick a trainer, you got to go for the gusto. So he needed somebody that was gonna give him what Reynoso was gonna give him. Since he left Reynoso. As much as Goosen has been successful with certain fighters, Goosen really wasn't that guy. So I do think it's a good look. I think Derrick will teach him some things, but at the end of the day, I gotta look at why he didn't work with Reynoso, and some of that was because of discipline, and he didn't like to do road work. So that'll be Derrick James' challenge to get Ryan Garcia to be more disciplined. Because he's looking for a title at 140. Hopefully, it's not a WBA title. Hopefully, he's gonna do his thing. But to me, like I always said, man, y'all get Ryan Amir Khan Garcia, and somebody eventually is gonna put him to sleep. Unless it's Rolly. He might fight Rolly at 140, but after that, somebody's gonna put him to sleep.
That's cute, man. I got nothing but the utmost respect for my boy King Ryan. King Ryan, to me, always does the right things. As far as his professional career, he gets a bad rap. He's just one of those guys that no matter what he does, it's like, oh, he's doing it because of this, or he's doing it on social media. He has a weak chin. I'm like, where has he been knocked out? No, he hasn't been knocked out. He cold. No. So why are we saying that? All of those type of things. Well, Tank, he didn't want to fight Tank. He was going to pull out of the fight. He didn't pull out of the fight. He fought Tank. He's going to be scared when they get there. He looked totally confident in the fight. Oh, he's going to make excuses. He took the loss like a man. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm like,
my rib hurt.
Hey, man,
I got a mole in my camp. I got a spy.
So Tank the one who said it. So I'm supposed to. You asked me a question, I can't answer the question. So again, he's one of those guys who can't. No matter what he does, you're gonna run and back and say some foul stuff about him. That's the reason why I always.
It hurt my rib.
You ever taken a shot like that?
No, I haven't. But why didn't he pull out the fight then? Well, why didn't he postpone the fight? Why he even say that he had real problems after the fight? Why didn't he just say, "Hey, look, I lost"?
Can I answer the question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that he couldn't because of the fact of his, the perception of him going into the fight. If anything that he does in the fight doesn't happen, it's going to fall on him because they're going to say, everybody was saying, you don't want to fight with Tank. He's just saying that. He's going to pull out and do this over. So he couldn't really, he was in a no-win situation. If he pulls out of that fight, regardless of what happens, that stigma on him, that stain on him was going to last for so long. You never know if he was ever going to get the Tank fight again. And no matter what he did, people would continue to say that he was scared of Tank. And so he's a young man. Some people, a Bud Crawford, a Floyd Mayweather, they wouldn't give a damn. Shit, I got to pull out this fight if they pull out the fight. Or whatever it is that they want to do, they're going to stick to it. But he's a young man. He does things kind of, doesn't think everything all the way through. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I just think that from based on what I've seen, he's been a stand-up guy. But as far as this here, I think that this is a good decision because he wants to be trained by what he would consider to be one of the elite trainers. He has to be looked at like that. Now, that's good. I don't know if the match is going to work because I don't know with his prerequisite skills if they match what they do over there. You know what I mean? Because the guys that Derrick James has success with is those guys who kind of grittier, and maybe he can kind of embed that into him, or the fact that he can work with Ryan where he is and not, that's the beauty of a great trainer. Like a great trainer is one that's going to take you where you are and do what's in the best interest of the skills that you bring to the table, and not try to mold you into something that I want to see you, because I think all fighters need to be doing these sort of things. So if he can do that, then it's going to be, but does he have time to do it? Because now you got Anthony Joshua, you got little Frank Martin, you got, well, I'm even putting, he don't really have Errol Spence anymore. Errol Spence, shit, he ain't fought in like 5 years. You understand what I'm saying? So he BSing. But he has Jermell once he comes back. Because, like I say, Errol, he sitting up there wasting his career waiting on Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford is screwing him. But anyway, sticking to the subject. I think it could work. If it doesn't work, he can, move on or, give it up. I don't know. But I think at this particular point, from that, looking at it through that lens, I think it's a good decision because he just wants to be matched with one of the best in the business. What about you, Danny?
Yeah, man, I agree. I also agree with the fact that he gets a bad rap, and it's always no-win situations for him, and we got to remember at the end of the day, some of the things that we're holding against him, he did at 21. You know what I mean? In a social media era that we didn't have to grow up under, that got him his fame. You know what I mean? And so if I had stuff held against me from when I was 21, you know what I mean? Like I might be worse off than him. You feel me? So I think that he just wants to be the best. You know what I mean? That there is some optimism to him with his age, and maybe he doesn't think things all the way through. But I think that as a fighter who wants to be the best, this shows me that he wants to be the best. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't want a yes man. I think he said Goosen was training him in his home. Like that's not gonna be a thing with Derrick James. Like you got to come down to Texas. You feel me? And get out of his comfort zone. I can't see that being a bad thing with him, if nothing else. You know what I mean? So I think it's a net positive for him. Whether it's gonna work or not, I don't know. But you got to get a guy. I take my hat out to the guy for trying.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Ty?
Yeah, I think this is one heck of a move, man. This is an awesome move. I've always mentioned Derrick James to me is one of the best trainers. All his fighters, from Spence, Frank Martin, the Charlos, they all got stoppages in their last fights. So, Eddie Reynoso, I was reading, he was saying that Ryan Garcia is the fighter that don't take training seriously. Like if you go on like IG and everything, you see Ryan Garcia. You don't really see any videos of him training seriously hard. You just see videos of him showing how fast he is. Hitting the speed bag, stuff like that. You don't really see him putting in real work. But Eddie Reynoso was saying that Ryan Garcia is the type of fighter that just likes to train a little bit and then run off into the press and do interviews and stuff like that. So he's a young guy. He's a young guy with a huge IG following. So, I think he, at the end of the day, he was just having a lot of fun. But with the fact that his chin is not so great and, the fact that he just took a loss on the biggest stage of them all, I think that, going with Derrick James is one heck of a move. I think Derrick James would definitely get him on track. And like, as y'all mentioned, AJ just went with Derrick James. So Derrick James is definitely going to have his, his hands full with all these guys he's training. But if Ryan Garcia, stays 100% focused, I think this is definitely going to pay off for his career.
Yeah, for me, I don't see him not, because it'd be a waste of time to even be fooling around with Derrick James if he didn't really want to try to be the best. You understand what I'm saying? Now, you know how I know that it's a success is if it's certain things. Like if I see him fight, and it's certain patience that he's exuding, and it's little things that Derrick James is able to add to what Ryan does really well, because he can't just, he knows now, I just can't rely on a big left hand like that. Just against certain levels of fighter, I have to add other wrinkles to be able to get that left hand off. Maybe I do rely on it, but I still got to have some other stuff to throw them off. The other thing is, if I see Ryan Garcia, you know what I'm saying, he end up like with some gold teeth or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Getting that little Spence, little shag that he used to have back in the day. I know that it's a success because that's a true killer. The other thing that I would know, and this is the biggest thing, if he comes out in his next fight, right, and he comes out to this, yeah. If you hear that in this next fight, it's a wrap, baby. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna be a match made in heaven. You can't lose. But yeah, anything else on that topic right there? That's
Yeah,
cute.
yeah. I want to add one thing. I don't know if you guys seen my interview with Alex Martin, but Alex Martin doesn't have the best power. He's got about six KOs in all of his fights. But when I interviewed him, he was saying he's been calling for the Ryan Garcia fight for a minute. And he was saying they both with Golden Boy, they both fight on his own. So hopefully he can make that fight happen. So I think that could be a good step in the right direction. For Ryan Garcia having his first fight back. So hopefully they can make that happen. Big shout out to Alex Martin, man.
So shout out to Gay Ruiz. He said two-time trainer of the year, no doubt, no diggity. But he says, but Ryan has to get off the TikTok and actually listen. Okay, you know, I see Gabe, you over there, following the what's my man name, Lavelle Jackson, haterthon rubric. You understand what I'm saying? So, but it's all good, man. We'll see how it plays out. The last thing I have for you fellas, we approaching 2 hours on this here. I got to get out there in the sun and probably get me a hike in today. But before we start wrapping up, my question, I got one last few things, man. What did you think? Because this today is a day to recognize the dream Devin Haney. He, regardless of what you thought yesterday, he won the championship. He's still undisputed, and on his resume, he has a future Hall of Famer. But I'll be remiss because we didn't talk about this. Is what did you think about the push, like before the fight? You think that was, Loma being who he is, the stature of who Loma is? Do you think that was inappropriate, or do you think that it's all fair and games when it comes to that sort of thing?
It's interesting because Haney, leading up to this fight, he stated that this fight wasn't being promoted properly and Loma Chica wasn't helping him promote. So he took on that role and decided to be more of, I'm going to be the bad guy. To me, I think it was misguided. It did him a disservice because Loma took it a different way. Loma took it that Devin Haney was nervous. And the points in that fight, when you see it, you can see nervous energy in Devin Haney when he was fighting. And he kind of let the cat out the bag with that a little bit. Pushes, I don't have a big problem with because, fighters push each other. Kind of the way he pushed him, it was kind of hard. And I think that might have been the frustration of waiting 4 years. But at the same time, like, for example, the tank push against Rolly. In a big fight like that, you don't want to risk somebody getting hurt. You might want to push him a little bit, like what Floyd did to what was my man, Victor Ortiz, like when they were, size each other up, or Ricky Hatton. But you don't want to mess up that money, right? So I do think it didn't do him any favors because a fight like this, it didn't give him any sympathy. He was kind of, it made it look like he had to really dominate to really get the respect. And I thought he would have done that considering his confidence in being able to, push Loma with it like that. But it didn't happen. So you make your bed, you gotta sleep in it.
Man, I would if there was one thing I would agree with, maybe he could have like not pushed him as hard as to maybe risk injury. But I also thought he knew what he was doing. Because at the end of the day, like somebody gotta sell that fight, man. Like like you were saying, Loma doesn't give you a whole lot to work with. And Haney is a nice, like he's when I hear him interview, he's a nice, like he's a solid young man. You can tell he was raised right. But it doesn't necessarily sell fights to be that way. I've had dudes in other boxing group chats, they watch the the pre-fight, their version of like, HBO Top Range version of like 24/7 or whatever, and they watch boxing and there's nothing they were like there's nothing about this that makes me want to watch this fight if I wasn't a boxing fan already. And so I mean some of it may have been frustration, but I think some of it was just like we got to generate something last minute, give somebody to click on real quick, and maybe they'll click buy on that $60 pay-per-view. You know what I mean? I think it was that. In terms of the nervous energy in the fight, I think that's mutually exclusive. I think that was going to happen anyway because of the type of fighter that Lomachenko was going to be regardless. You know what I mean? That's all I got.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is three things. One is it obviously is trying to sell a fight. It just didn't make sense because it wasn't like Loma was like barking back at him. You know what I'm saying? It's like out of nowhere, this dude just pushed the hell out of him. And I'm like, man, where did that come from? Like, just, hope it would be better if they were both on the same page. Like, we got to sell this fight or whatever. And then we kind of conjure up something. And then also, they were making such a big, I know he pushed them. He pushed them hard now. But then it's like NSAC got to investigate them. They told me I was hearing some things about them. They might press charges. And I'm like, come on, dog. Like, this is a fight. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many times people have been pushed and grabbed and stuff like that at a weigh-in? I've never heard that sort of thing, unless you crack somebody or something or somebody get injured.
Yeah, I watched, what's his name? They got hit upside the head. I think it was Barrera and Morales. When they were side each other up, and they had suits on, and one of them cracked the other one upside the head.
Yeah, then remember Larry Donald got punched by Riddick Bowe. Like he cracked him like before the fight.
Yeah. Somebody got drop kick. I think that Larry Holmes drop kicked somebody off a
car.
car
Before a fight. Yeah, they was just talking crazy to each other. With Trevor Burbick. Yeah, I ain't never seen. If you Google that. If you haven't seen that,
jumped off a car and drop kicked. But with Haney. The sad thing, I'm gonna stop using the word sad, but what I didn't like about it, why I say it didn't do Haney any favors, because as Danny mentioned, Haney's a nice guy, you know what I'm saying, very respectable guy. He's a guy that some boxers ain't approachable, you know what I'm saying, as a boxing fan, and you like, man, I don't want to deal with them. But Haney seems the type of guy that's approachable, got a good head on his shoulders. And but people who don't follow boxing, I understand the promotional aspect, but for people who don't follow boxing as much as we do, it really didn't give a picture of who Devin Haney is, and it did him a disservice where people were rooting against him. That's why he's getting booed and all that. And now we have a close fight like this where you win. It's a lot less sympathy, and it'll be a lot less sympathy going forward for you. So it'll be on Devin Haney to show that, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm a dog because I'm a fighter, but I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not a bad guy, because really Devin Haney, he's just like, to me, he's like Andre Ward to me, you know what I'm saying? So it's better to exemplify that versus let me suppress that and try to play a role that's really not me.
Listen, man, if more people bought that fight, because it's so much stuff that goes, people's attention span is so short, this will just be water under the bridge in about a week or two. Like, they're going to move on. You're going to have other fights that's going to take place. If he has an opportunity to face one of those other big fighters like a Tank Davis, then that's going to help him.
So who's the bad guy in that fight? Haney? He's going to be the bad guy against Tank? Now people going to be rooting for Tank now?
Well, they already would have been. If Tank has a contingency of fans that, like, they die hard, and the fact that they don't want to see Tank lose. Like, he has that type of support. They don't even want him to have to face any tough opposition, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, you the bad guy because you can fight. And it's like, so he got all the belts, man. Push next time you get up in there with Tank, push him the hell out of the ring too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Next week we predict Tank versus Haney
We'll hope so.
But
That's the last thing, but I will, we press for time, so I will touch on this right here as far as Benavidez sending the Canelo an offer in September. That'd be much appreciated. Ty, I didn't get a chance to hear your thoughts on this push, though. My bad. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I looked at it as a good thing and a bad thing. To me, it was more of a bad thing. You can see when fighters come together and then one of them push the other if there was a lot of animosity or a lot of legit beef. But Lomachenko is very respectful. So to see Devin Haney pour that was kind of distasteful. And the commission guy up there, he was saying too, when both guys came face to face, no pushing, and Haney still pushed him. So like. It kind of, hit me on my bad side when he did that. But, at the same time, this is the fight business. You know what I mean? So you got, both of these guys are get ready to get in there and get in the ring. So, I can stand that he pushing him, let him know he's here to fight. So, but to me, it was more of a negative thing than a positive thing. Like, as y'all mentioned earlier, that Haney is very respectful as well, when the way he conducts interviews and stuff like that. So it just kind of seemed different. Did you see Devin Haney do that?
Yeah, it was different. The last thing I'm gonna say is that see, Tank always grabbing on somebody. You know what I'm saying? He always doing something. He pushed Rolly almost off the dang on thing. This Hector Garcia, he got like grab it. I'm like, man, Tank, chill out, man. You gonna like one of these fights, somebody gonna do something. It's gonna get called off because y'all doing way too much. But it is what it is, man. Like I say, like my main man Triple G always say, it's box. You understand? It's box. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up, man. That was a good chop it up session, man. Anybody that's on here, make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button. We always greatly appreciate those things. You guys have any final thoughts this past weekend, as far as boxing is concerned, or anything else?
Yeah, good chopping it up with you guys. It just went long. But so we had to do it. This is one of those fights where it just had a lot of people talking, and we just had to give it its just due.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll just add, thankful for coming on with you guys. Thankful, appreciate the opportunity. We just had a big fight, with Haney and Loma, and then we had the Tank and Ryan Garcia fight. So, boxing definitely giving us some good fights this year.
In a perfect world, you would have Devin and Tank. Like, that would be a no-brainer. You know what I'm saying? Because they just fought like relatively right back to back. Those should be the two best in that division. And then it's for all of the marbles too. And then it's also for like Tank's popularity and cachet as far as his name recognition versus the guy who actually holds all of the belts. So that'd be a perfect match that they can set up. But you know how it is, man. Boxing don't always give us the things that we want when we want them. But we can always keep our fingers crossed. You got anything, Danny?
No, man. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Check us out also on the Underdog Podcast Network, Apple, Spotify, wherever you stream podcasts.
And as always, thank you, Ty. I don't even think we got to do that anymore because, like I say, Ty is like an unofficial fourth member. He's the Capadonna, last one's at the bar.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say, Capadonna or the Big Noid.
Yeah, on my.
Yeah, I got a couple bars in me myself. You know what I'm saying?
All right, the floor is yours, sir.
So I'm just playing, man. I'm just playing. I used to rap all the time back in the day, man. Me and the guys get together, kick some freestyles, all that. So,
hey, next episode, we're gonna go ahead. That's how we're gonna start it off. You understand what I'm saying? We're gonna let Ty go ahead and cook up a few bars, and then Vail gonna go ahead and beatbox. You understand what I'm saying? But on that note, folks, you can always catch us every Tuesday, on all streaming platforms, just like Danny said. It was a pleasure and honor to work with you all today and talk this boxing thing, and we'll be back next week. On that note, we out. Peace.
Peace.
That.